There are so many challenges that come up in your life career of sports. Whether it's injuries, personal challenges, exterior things that you have no control over, there are so many things that can pull you away from trying to achieve your goals. At the age of 19, I almost quit the sport that I love, even though I was on the highest, most difficult professional circuit throughout all of karate. Yet, some things were still not going right. Coach Cam Fam, we're going to cover how to work through the most difficult times in your sporting career today and what specific themes are going to get you to feel the best that you can be. Now, before I get into one of the most challenging moments of my life and how I came out of it from mental skills, I want you to make sure you subscribe to this channel, like the video, to make sure that we can help the algorithm work towards more athletes that need the help. If you haven't already, go to my website. I'm gonna drop the link in the description below for you to go get your free game day mental preparation worksheet so that it can help you be the best that you can be on your actual competition day. So let me set the scene. At the age of 19, I had just aged up from juniors into the senior categories for karate. Now I was on the US national team for both at this period of time, but I actually, outside of the US, had not won a single match for 13 months. Put that into perspective for yourself. For athletes that are losing one tournament or they don't make the team one time or anything like that, that's one competition. I was still on the US national team at that time, but there was a lot of growing pains that took place at this specific period in my life. I was in college. I had just switched from community college over to a university. And I did that because I wanted to save money so that I could travel more and compete at Premier Leagues, Series A's, and all of you guys know this was the pre-Olympics era, so we had to start ranking up our points in order to qualify for the Olympic Games. Now, there's a lot of different challenges that came with that. I'm gonna make a separate video on my track to not actually qualify for the Olympics by one single spot. But in this period of my life, I was failing classes, and I had not won a single match outside of the US in over 13 months. Put that into perspective for yourself. A lot of athletes might be upset and they think about quitting after losing 1 or 2 or even 3 tournaments. But for over a year and some change, I didn't win a single match outside of the US, investing all this time, all this effort, all this energy, and all this money trying to hold a separate job outside of my current business, my dojo, so that I could fund myself to get to these events. So not only was I failing my classes because I was traveling so much and commuting to the university that I was at, I was losing all these competitions and I was super broke, all things considered, because I was just funding myself and not getting anything in return. The thing that really killed me was I had a sponsor at the time who was helping fund the vast majority of these trips, in addition to me paying for things on the side. My parents are the best supporters in the world and they helped me get in the rooms with these different sponsors. But I remember going into a meeting after my last competition I had lost. I sat down with this sponsor, directly looked at me, and he said, "Hey, I can't keep funding someone who's just going to these tournaments for fun." Now that really hit home with me because I was going to all these different competitions specifically to go compete and make it to the Olympics. I had this dream, I had these goals, I wanted to achieve all these different things. Now, the things that clouded my mind the most is I got stuck in this loop of, you know what, I don't think it's gonna work. I'm just gonna hope that it works out for this next event. And I continuously did that over and over and over. And even though I was in amazing physical shape, my weight was on point, and everything else was working, these 3 different pillars of my current life with my friendships and my social not going well, my school being one of the most difficult things, and the thing that I'm investing the most amount of time in with my karate, my sport, was absolutely going to garbage. Now, Coach Cam, what do you do with all this sob story that you had? Everybody goes through difficult things, and I agree with that. But this is one of the most pivotal times because I almost quit. I remember having several reflections and moments where I'm writing down and working with this mental coach that I had at the time, talking about why I want to do this anymore. And that why had diminished to almost nothing, to the point where I didn't even want to go to the dojo to actually teach classes, even though that's my family's business. That's our lifeline to help me fulfill and keep going with all these different things. My training at the time was some of the most difficult. I had some of the best people in the room, but I wasn't motivated to actually get any better. I was just getting beat up and hurt almost every single day, and I really hated coming to practice. So basically everything was going in a direction of, why should I do this? I don't like doing this, and it's not helping anything else I have. Some people would have said that I was borderline depressive because no results were taking place, and I lost my sense in what the process really was. I didn't know what I was working for. I wasn't getting any results for any of the different categories in my life, and I was really stuck on what to do next. A lot of you, I'm sure, feel like you've been in a very similar situation of what the next step is, regardless of if things are going well or they're at the very bottom of the barrel. The one thing I want to provide for you is each moment in your life adds and gives an opportunity for something. And that's exactly what happened to me here. The mental coach I had at the time and I worked through a specific thing called themes. Now, everybody knows what they are, but themes give life to goals. You could have all the goals in the world, and I did. I had very lofty goals, as I do now as a coach trying to help more athletes build up. But my goals were so lofty that I lost the sense of what the steps are going forwards. What do I really enjoy about doing all of this? So it's not about why I'm doing it, but why I enjoy it in the first place. There's levels to your whys, not only identifying the why of why you're actually doing the thing, but why are you doing it in the sense of what are you getting out of it for yourself? Now, after a super long conversation with my mental coach at the time, I identified that the why of why I'm still pushing myself to just show up, it's not because I really wanted to win necessarily, but it's because every time I went to practice or I had to stay disciplined or had to show up to class even though my grades were not going well, or push myself to go to bed early even though I wanted to go out and party, it was because I knew that I was bettering myself, specifically in the realm of I had anxiety, I had severe fear of failure. I was working through the challenges of having parents that set high expectations for you based off of their own accolades and success. And the only place that I could find myself working through these things was when I was training in the sport specifically. Karate's not an NCAA sanctioned event or sport, so there's no funding model. But by grinding and figuring out how I can fundraise and how I can communicate and how I can work with other people, I was bettering all my skills. I was sharpening my personality and all the things I needed to do to help not only the sport and what I'm doing in it, but then all the skills and things that I was building for after I want to retire. Now, the things that kept me locked in this phase was not only the goals, but it was the themes that support them. Goals a lot of times for athletes are answered specifically as yes or no, but my goals shifted over to process-oriented things where they were more working through. For example, every time I got anxious in a practice, I would just have a moment of gratitude. Now, it sounds super simple, but when you're in the heat of practice and you're getting anxious about something, or you're worried, or you're fearful, or whatever it might be, stopping yourself and just being like, I'm grateful for this moment. I'm grateful for that, my health. I'm grateful for this opportunity to train. I'm grateful for the opportunity to get better at this sport is a very challenging thing. So something as simple as that allowed me to shift my thinking from objective, having to be result-based, to now I'm focusing on building in the process. Now, a theme is the overarching umbrella that helps you work through a given phase of your life. I would break these phases into 3 to 6 months, depending on what major events I was working through. Now, one event stands out in particular. When things started shifting and working forward, I had a Pan American Championships at the end of this 13-month interval that was about another 2 months out. So for 8 weeks, I told myself the theme is work. Work, period. Whatever the challenge is, whatever negative situation it might be, how down I might be, the option is work. Just work. Just go to work. Put your head down, start, and work. For every single day of practice, that was the theme. It wasn't a goal, it was assisting my goals. To the point where I got to that Pan American Championships. For my teammates watching, I know you remember in Curacao, your boy drank the water. I was so sick going into that bronze medal match. I had to take so many different pills from our doctor. Of course, they were all okay, just to keep my stomach from not turning over into that final match. I remember in the warm-up area, I was by myself. I didn't have anybody to warm up with me. My coaches were busy, my teammates were away. I didn't have anybody. So what did I do? Work. I asked the team doctor at the time to stand there with me and just keep a pace on how much time I have until I can go compete. If I threw too many techniques, I would immediately go to have to make a bathroom trip. But in this case, I asked exactly what I needed to do to make sure I was warm enough to go and fight. Remember, in the match, I was down, I was up, and then I was back to down. With only 5 seconds left, you're fighting a Pan American Games medalist, someone who's far more experienced than me in this case, someone that everybody is expecting to win this match. I go and on essentially the buzzer, I score a single punch. After he had ducked, I found my distance and I scored this punch. Now, this is one success moment, a bronze medal, not something that everybody would write home about, but a bronze medal that happened after almost 15 months of no winning, no excessive. The theme goes back to the point, work. After that point in time, when I look back and reflect on that period of time, when I have everything that was operating on a process oriented of why I enjoy still just showing up. And after that, identifying not the goals necessarily, not the lofty goals, but what the theme is for that period of time, then I can build up from there. Now, after you reflect from that period of time, the theme then needs to shift. For me, it became about maintain. Not, oh, well, if the next tournament's gonna go well, or I'm worried about if I don't win again or anything else. But now I found that it's okay, it's feasible. Success is going to happen for me. So for me now, it doesn't become about, oh, I need to get bigger and better. I need to just maintain. Whatever challenges come up for me, whatever things are difficult, just maintain, which then took me into the next phase of continued success afterwards. So if you're going through a difficult patch or you feel like there's no hope in what the next step is, it's okay. There actually is a step. It's just one. Make sure you identify not only your why of why you're doing it, but why you enjoy it in the first place. What's the most bare bones essence of what keeps you going with your sport, with your activity, with whatever you're trying to better yourself with in the first place, and build from there. Now, themes are great, goals are even better, but goals that are too lofty and too far ahead will always keep us feeling like we're just coming up short. Shorten the duration of time that you have from that goal to a smaller period of time and address a theme of how you're going to live your life and how you're going to work for yourself to then build up a strong mental frame of how you're going to behave in all the different situations that are apparent. Coach Cam fam, you can do it. You can do it. You will see it, you will feel it, and there's going to be that moment where you remember this exact video. Thank you for watching as always. Let's get it.